Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my deck collection and declutter series. Today we are looking at my fantasy and otherworldly kind of decks. And to be fair, there's a few decks in here that just ended up in this category because I didn't know where else to put them. But that's true in almost all of the videos that I'm making for this series because it's hard to narrow down the categories when you have so many diverse decks. But let's dive into it because I have so many decks to talk about in this category. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is the Lucky Potion Oracle. This is by Richard Howdy of Odd Mix Market. And this is such a cool deck. So for starters, this was a Kickstarter that I backed, and it's an Oracle deck that to me would really appeal to you if you've ever done any role-playing games or you really like a more narrative style to working with your Oracle decks. But it came with this really nice little, okay, it's upside down, but it came with this nice little dice rolling mat and dice, certificate of authenticity, and a guidebook. It's a really nice linen finish cardstock, and they're square. The backings have all these eyes on them. And then each one of these cards is essentially a potion. And so what you would do to work with this deck, or at least what I've done to work with this deck, is you would randomly draw a potion. So I'll just grab one. And so I got the Indulge potion. Looks like some sushi in there. And then you would roll the die. Oh, off the mat. And I got the Share potion. Hello, focus camera. Hi. Hi. There we go. Okay, it doesn't want to focus. Am I too close? I must be. The little Share potion symbol. So I go to the guidebook, and this is card number 10 in the blue cards. Nice color coding in the guidebook. So I go to the blue cards, look for card 10. Oh, Indulge. And then you just read the intro section, and then you read the section that corresponds with what you rolled on the dice. So for this card, it says, "The scent of an ocean shore before a storm crashes over you as you select the bottle and examine it. Curious shelled creatures stir in the bottom of the clear blue liquid. Despite the plain shape of this bottle, you realize it's not glass in your hands, but pure crystal. Fine things come in simple shapes if you only take the time to notice them." So then I go on to the part for sharing the potion, and it says, "You pass the bottle around and watch faces flash with delight as the tantalizing tastes creep over every tiny taste bud. Smiles, blushes, and whispered excitement bubble all around you. In that instant, you bring a moment of opulence and joy to an otherwise unremarkable day. It's easy to forget we have the power to pamper the ones we love and change ordinary moments into extraordinary ones." So it's kind of like a narrative, Oracle experience. It's super unique and fun, and I don't know that I could bring myself to part with this because it is so unique. I absolutely love it. I don't think I've worked with it as much as I'd like to, but it's also hard to figure out sort of what decks to pair with this particular one and how that would look. So I haven't, like I said, I haven't really played with it as much as I could. It'd be fantastic with another narrative style deck, such as the, it's another really good narrative one, I would say, would be the Tarot of a Hidden Realm. It has a real narrative feel to the guidebook, so something like this might work well with that, or I don't know, I'm still deciding. But I can't bring myself to part with it because it's just so unique, so I'll set that one aside for now. Okay, next up in this gorgeous rainbowy tie-dye bag is the Magical Times Empowerment cards by Jody Bergsma. I picked these up kind of on a whim because I was planning to get another Jody Bergsma deck, and let me make sure it is Jody Bergsma. Yeah, it is. I don't think I've ever really read anything in the guidebook, to be honest. Really pretty multicolored backing, and these have a central image with a title and then some text at the bottom. As beautiful as these cards are, to be honest, I haven't really worked with them that much or felt like I really miss them when I'm not working with them, which is one of the ways I can tell that I'm not necessarily getting on all that well with the deck. It's beautiful, but I think this may be one I could consider passing on. It'd be a really good one for somebody who's looking for an Oracle deck that's kind of positive and uplifting, and has really beautiful artwork. But I think this one and me might be done. We'll see. I'll put it in the to think about pile. But this box, as cool as it is, that it's unique, that bugs me. Okay, let me just set this aside. We'll put this in the to be considered pile. Okay, next up, this one is a favorite, and I don't see myself ever getting rid of it. Look at this multicolor edging. This is the Oracle of the Unicorns, and it's a collaborative art deck. Well, I guess you could say that. It's basically pre-existing artwork that's been compiled into a deck. There's something about the quality of these cards, though. There's something about the gloss. I actually wasn't super tempted by this deck until I got it in my hands, and then I just fell in love with it because it almost felt like photographs. But it is pre-existing artwork, and for some people that might be actually a deal breaker. I wouldn't say this is like my most intuitive oracle, but I absolutely love working with it and looking at it. This is definitely one where I could see myself even just putting cards on display because I just love the artwork and I love how vibrant it is with this high gloss finish. I really enjoy this deck. So yeah, that's not going anywhere. I love it. That one's gonna go in the definite to keep pile. Okay, next up. This is by Danielle Noel and Rebecca Campbell, and it's the Work Your Light Oracle deck. I will say this is such a nice quality deck, really good box. This is a Hay House, I believe. Yeah, Hay House. I'm pretty sure these are all still available. I will definitely have links to everything down below. And unfortunately, sometimes things go out of print and I don't realize, so if that happens, I'm really sorry. But this is just a really beautiful deck, and it goes so well with my other, with my Moonchild Tarot, which is also by Danielle Noel, that just for the purposes of being able to pair them, I don't know that I would be able to let this one go. I love the artwork. I think it's really, really beautiful. And there is some kind of like the Pleiades card, or there's another one in here that's like that. That just feels a little bit like cosmic, and I tend to not always resonate so much with that. I love this protection card. So yeah, Star Mother. So the theme of the deck sometimes gets a little bit outside of where I think I would be really drawn to on my own, but it's really beautiful, and again, it pairs really well with my Moonchild Tarot, so I don't know that I would ever let it go. I don't think I'm ready to even think about that right now because I do still really enjoy pairing it in that way. So for now, we're going to put this in the keep pile. It is a really beautiful deck. It's just that astrological, I guess not astrological, but that sort of cosmic vibe isn't always for me. But again, with the Moonchild, this works really, really well. So keeping. What do we have next? Let's take a look next at the Healers of the Earth Oracle. This is such a pretty deck, and I don't know what my deal is, but I so rarely reach for it. It's got a really nice matte silver edging. Now, when this deck first came out, it was bordered and glossy, but it is now, or the version I have is borderless and matte. Yeah, I really love this one, and I wonder if part of the reason it doesn't get as much play is because I just end up reaching for other things. But it's very balanced. There's like, here's a good example, Radio Toxic. What I love about this deck is that the keywords, you have a primary keyword that's really expansive and intuitive, and then you have sub-keywords which help. So for example, Radio Toxic, the sub-keywords are toxic environment and emotional vampires. This is one of those oracle decks that I think would work really well in any kind of tarot spread, would work really well in a tarot style. Multi-card readings with this deck work really well. I think the main reason I haven't been reaching for this as much is because the art style is this very sort of Second Life or Sims. It's a computer graphic video game style of modeling in the characters in the cards, and I don't have any tarot decks that sort of have this kind of an art feel, which means that I tend to not reach for it, even though I actually genuinely love it. There's a lot of really good stuff here. Like, this is the kind of deck that works solo really super beautifully. I think it just keeps getting kind of lost in my collection. I don't think this is one when I first pulled it out, I was like, maybe this is one I could think about passing on, but I actually don't think it is. I really, really enjoy it so much. And that card, which I pulled near the beginning, that shows this one here, Braving the Storm. This has so much personal meaning for me. I used to cope with a lot of really difficult stuff in my life by going and swinging, actually. So facing difficulties, finding courage and fortitude, and then braving the storm, this just really works for me. So yeah, I don't think this is going to go anywhere anytime soon. There is also a mechanic with this deck where you can work with the backs, because the backs actually have different words on them. I find that I work best with this deck kind of ignoring that element and just working with the cards themselves, although there is a guidebook that gives you a lot more ways to work with this deck. But this is, again, the Healers of the Earth Oracle by Mandy Peterson. So yeah, this is going in the keep pile. Okay, what do we have next? So this is newish to my collection, and it's not going anywhere. I think it's absolutely stunning. This is the Sacred Destiny Oracle by Denise Linn. This is so freaking beautiful. I love this so much. And to be fair, I haven't really even worked with the guidebook that much, but this is stunning. It feels like, and this is one I don't think I would trim because it literally feels almost like really stunning Polaroids with single keywords, and it's just executed really well. There's a lot of like landscape photography here, but with these extra elements. I love this transformation card, openness, trust. I mean, the keywords are super fantastic, and the art just draws you in. This would pair well with a lot of decks. The artwork just gives you a lot to work with. This might work really well, actually. I might consider pairing this with the Majestic Earth Tarot. I think that would work really well. Oh, so pretty. So pretty. Yeah, and this is a beautiful matte cardstock, and I am head over heels in love with these ocean wave, like this crashing wave on the back. Oh my gosh, I love this deck. This is a deck that I blame slash credit Dustin at Modern Metaphysic Man for turning me on to because it's so pretty. It's so pretty. I love it. I don't know if it really counts as fantasy, but it definitely has a bit of that otherworldly kind of feel to it. Yeah, beautiful. Love it. Keeping. Okay, what do I have next? This deck. Okay, so me and this deck have a bit of a messy past, I guess you could say. So this is the Crystal Visions Tarot by Jennifer Galasso. I got this deck in a trade, and it came to me, or I think I picked it up locally, like through Facebook Marketplace or something. This deck came to me trimmed, and it was already edged, but the edging just kept, like, you can see it's kind of bled onto the booklet a bit. It just kept coming off. So I actually re-edged it with an alcohol-based marker, and it seems to have stopped. The trimming job on this was actually done really well. Like, it's pretty smooth and even for the most part. But I was just mad at it because every time I would work with it, I would get like pink and purple. I don't know if it's completely stopped yet, actually. I would get pink and purple on my thumbs. Nope, so far so good. This is a really great, like, classic Rider-Waite-Smith style deck that's fantasy based. The thing about this deck is that it's as little as I actually feel called to work with it. It really has this beautiful fantasy world, and I really love the way that the cards are depicted. I've enjoyed working with it, and my fear, I think, about letting this one go would be that I would really miss it once it was gone. It is pretty special. I love, love, love this Page of Cups, which is one of my personal significators. Some of the artwork, like this one, just like feels not, like, it just feels wrong somehow. I don't know how to describe it. Something about the way the art is done, like the body proportions or something feels weird. And that's true of kind of throughout the deck. But I love these pinks and purples. And again, it feels so, this is like the first deck I think of when I think of fantasy decks. Really easy to read with, by the way. If you're looking for a good beginner's deck, I think this one would be wonderful. Especially if you're drawn to this style of art. I really like it. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in the maybe pile because I do think I'd miss it if I rehomed it, but I'm gonna revisit it at the end of this video. Okay, next up, this is another one I would definitely class as a fantasy deck, but it's got a much darker vibe. This is the Ellis Deck, and I have the 5th edition. It's in this 2-piece kind of slidey box. This little sheet, I've raved about it before, is so useful. It's like a diagram for the meanings of the cards, and it's like, it's so smart. It uses numerology and then elemental, and it helps you kind of see how it all works. It's so smart. If you're new to tarot, this is such a cool little, I mean, it's so simple, but it's so well executed. These cards are so full of depth. So first of all, it does have a like kind of sparkly like gold gilding, and the glitteriness of it wore off after about a week of use. So now it's just kind of, it's just nice now. These are the backings, so they are reversible, but you can see you get that polarity shift black to white if you were to reverse them. This is like a vector style of artwork, but it's really, really cool. It's got like a dark edge to it. But it really draws me in, and I think there's something about this style of artwork that it just makes it easier for me to pick out different symbols and elements of the cards. This is so unique. I just really, really like this deck. I don't think I could get rid of this one. It's hard to let go, hey? but this is just a really special, unique deck. I think in general it would be harder for me to part with independent decks like this that are so creative and unique. I love this Page of Swords. I mean, when we think of the Page of Swords as the detective and then he's looking through this hole and kind of examining situations. I mean, I could do, if I haven't done a deep dive on this deck, I really need to, because there's just so much to see in all of these cards. Even like this Hermit card, in his lamp you have all 4 elements. It's just so well done. I love this dang deck so much. Like, here's the moon. Oh no, that's the Hierophant. Where's the moon? There it is. And you get like this scene. You can see that there's trees, right? But then over here it's all creepy vines and a hand reaching out, and it just kind of shows how your mind can play tricks on you, right? If you're not seeing clearly. It's even reflected here in the way that the moon letters are kind of hollow on this side and filled on this side, and you see that sort of divide. Like, if you only look at, in fact, here, look at this. If you only look at this side of the card, it's all pretty harmless looking. And then if you look at it this side, it's all sinister looking. And here's where you have the dog, and this side is where you have the wolf, right? So it's just so smart. And I love that about this deck. So yeah, I don't think this one is going anywhere anytime soon. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. So this is going for sure into the to keep pile. Okay. What do we have next? We have this pretty. Oh, this deck. Okay, so boy. Okay, the Inner Star Oracle. This is gorgeous. This deck is so pretty and smart. It was an impulse buy. I think there's a couple decks out on the market that if I got those, this one might be easier to let go of. But it's kind of like a sigil style deck. You get these like sacred geometry sort of symbols. This is what the backings look like. And it doesn't have any gilding. The keywords are great, but if you look very closely at the cards, so here's embodied knowing, and you see the sigil here, which the sigil, if you really think about it, works so well and makes so much sense. But if you also peer back into the back of the artwork, you'll see there's an eye here. And so there's more than what you see on the surface if you just look past, right? Mindful creation, and in the back there's this like landscape scene. It's very faint. It's almost hard to see. Natural cycles, and you see the sea down here and a cliff. I don't know if you can even pick it up on camera. Spiritual truth, source, new fuel, the goddess within. I mean, and these pair really beautifully with a number of different decks, particularly if you've got a very busy deck. Putting something like this next to it just helps to kind of clarify and get down to the key message. Challenge yourself, be enchanted, co-create. Yeah, I don't think I can let go of this. Now, if I had another sigil-based kind of oracle deck, I could see myself possibly passing this one along. But for now, I think it's just such a nice, clean deck to pair with some of my tarot decks. I don't know that I could let it go. So this is the Inner Star Oracle deck. This is the Magic Edition by Joe Klima. And I can't remember where the Darling Tree. That's the name of the business, I believe, that's behind this deck. Also, let's talk about this bag match, shall we? Yeah, It's one of my favorite things, is matching decks to their bags. Okay. I bought my camera. Next up, we have the Field Guide to Garden Dragons. This deck is so dang cute. Okay, so this is a deck by Stanley Morrison, and the guidebook is written by Arwen Lynch, and this is a US Games publication. I did a full walkthrough of this deck, and it is the most adorable thing ever. I just absolutely love it. That being said, I haven't found a lot of ways to really use it or work with it in my practice. I think 90% of what I get out of it is literally just looking at these freaking adorable little dragons. They're just so dang cute. And every time I look at them, I'm like, they're so dang cute. And there is good keywords on these, so like the dragon fruit dragon is defense, the lemon lime dragon is union, watermelon dragon is success. Garlic dragon is boundaries, pineapple is hospitality, eggplant for fun, pea pod for organize, avocado for patience, etc. And every one of these sort of, it's like a kitchen garden, and all the dragons that would be in your kitchen garden. So these are all like edible fruits or vegetables or plants. And part of me was like, oh, this would be a great deck to work with for kitchen witchery, which is one of the things I was thinking when I got it. But I've tended to just not feel like I had a reason to reach for it. And there's not a lot of tarot decks that I feel like this goes with. So it just kind of sits in my collection, not really getting a lot of love. I think this may be one that I need to pass along. As much as I think it is the cutest dang thing ever. I may see if Peggy actually wants to play with this one. She may actually enjoy this. She's a real dragon person, so she may, I don't know if these are too cute for her. She tends to like the more like badass looking dragons, but I'll check with her because she may really like this one, and if not, then maybe I'll rehome it. I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna put it in my to be considered for rehoming pile, and I'll revisit at the end of this video. Okay, next up, this is a deck that I loved working with clients for a long time, and I just haven't really been reaching for it lately. This is Christopher Butler's Healing Light Tarot. It is a really fantastic deck. It is really good for intuitive reads. Those are just the title cards, the little guidebook. This is this Lo Scarabeo? Yeah, this is Lo Scarabeo. It's got the like lift top style box, as you see there. The defining feature of this deck is this symbol here, which this is essentially a Vesica Pisces. This center section here, according to this book, is called a mandorla, just this like part right here. And so what you do with this deck, or one of the things you can do with this deck, is you look for what that section is around. So here you can see the Vesica Pisces, and it's highlighting this person here who's standing with his wand up. So this is the Seven of Wands. It's really cool how this deck is executed, because it brings your attention to like the most important, or the like, it kind of is a way to hone your intuition. So here you're looking at just the way this person is kicking. That's what's highlighted, right? Or like here we have the actual symbol here of the Three Swords. Here it's actually this space that the Fool is leaping into that is highlighted. And intuitively it's a really cool mechanic to pay attention to what that symbol is actually highlighting. And kind of look for it as you're reading. So here in the Two of Swords, it's actually this dove that's being highlighted at the center, this sort of peaceful symbol. Here it's the space between the two pentacles that seems important, right? How do you find that balance between the two? So it's a very smart deck, and it has a lot to share. But again, it's one of those decks that I just haven't been sort of reaching for recently. So here's a really interesting one. Here's the Six of Pentacles, and you have this person handing over a key or money or something to this other figure. And what's highlighted isn't the act of giving, it's actually the scale, which shows that the scale has been tipped in his direction. So he's balancing the scale in his act of giving, but it's the scale that matters, and like that being the context for the card. So it's really smart, this leap in the Nine of Cups is so great. This like joy, right? It's focusing on the feeling, not the collection of cups. Okay, I'm saying too much about this deck. So this is really cool, but again, I haven't been really called to use it in quite a long time. So this may be one I could consider letting go of. Let me think about it. So I'm gonna put this also in my to be considered pile. But yeah, really smart. It is a mass market deck. Hopefully it's still available. I will have links to things down below if I haven't mentioned that already. So yeah, this will go in the to be considered pile. Okay, this one, I don't know, I guess I put this more in the otherworldly kind of category. This is my home deck. This is the deck I learned to read tarot with. It is my Osho Zen. This isn't going anywhere. My copy is trimmed and edged in black, and I do have a backup copy, which I ended up with mostly because I wanted to get a copy of the book back in my life. This deck has a really cool take on the tarot, and I know these cards backwards and forwards. I know them really well. I really need to do a deep dive on this deck for my channel. I keep saying it and I just keep not doing it. But this deck just has a lot of wisdom, and I think the way that it comes at the concepts of the cards is just really useful, and I've given many of a reading with this deck, so it's not going anywhere. I love it. Don't reach for it hardly ever anymore, but if I ever just need like a comfort reading, like a reading where I don't have to think about anything and I just know it's gonna flow, this is the deck that I reach for. So that's definitely being kept. Along the same lines, and having a lot in common with it actually, is this Illusory Tarot, which is new to my collection, relatively new, and actually shares a lot of the same keywords as the Osho Zen Tarot, not completely. Has a very busy art style with a lot to kind of look at. I haven't worked with this yet for a full week, so it's definitely not going anywhere yet, and we'll decide then. It's unique enough that I could definitely see myself keeping it. But we'll see. We'll see. It is pretty unique. And I really feel like I jived with a lot of the keywords and the way the cards were depicted. I love this depiction of the tower, which I've talked about before. So yeah, I think this is really cool. There's no book, no little white book, nothing like that. It is what it is. But until I've worked with it for a week, I really can't make any kind of determination. So this is definitely going into the to keep pile. Next up is the Gilded Tarot. Oh man, I wanted to love this deck so much. And I do, in theory, love this deck. But I picked up a copy of the large guidebook that you can use to study and work with this deck. And it's still wrapped in plastic. That's how little I've been drawn to work with this after I worked with it for its first week. This is a smart deck. It has a lot to offer. And I think it has a really cool aesthetic. But as much as I liked it when I first worked with it, I do think part of it was getting caught up in the hype of this deck coming back into print after being out of print for a while. And I haven't really felt drawn to work with it at all. I haven't missed it. I haven't kind of been sad that I haven't had an opportunity to work with it again. So this is definitely one I need to think about possibly rehoming. So I'm going to set this one into the to be considered pile, which is actually surprisingly large for this video. All right, and finally, my most otherworldly deck, I would say, is my Luminous Void Tarot. However, this is a deck, oh, it's so beautiful. So this is the Shuffle edition. I originally had the first edition, which was quite large. And this one came out so that you could have an easier time shuffling it. I have big hands. It's still a bit of a stretch to go end to end, but I can do it. Beautiful rose petal finish. But what I really love about this deck, first of all, hi, stunning. And the shape is super special too. But this artwork is weird to me. It really truly is. But there's something about the fluidity of it and the looseness of it that lends itself to being really good for intuitive readings. In fact, when I've done phone readings for clients, the kind that evolve in this really organic way where you're just kind of pulling cards, there's no set spreads, you're just sort of answering questions and exploring ideas, this is a deck that I like to have close at hand because it helps me tap into that really left-brained, maybe right-brained, the creative, whatever the side of the brain is that's more intuitive, helps me just tap into that. I don't know why. In fact, I would never hang one of these, and I'm not saying it's not good art, but this is not the kind of art I would normally be drawn to, but there's something so fluid and fluid and loose. Those are the words I can think of for it. Very watery, obviously, about this deck. But there's something about it that just helps me to tap into my intuition differently, almost like, I guess you could say, like an ink blot test. So that is the Luminous Void Tarot. Definitely not going anywhere. It's super unique in my collection, and I appreciate it a lot for the ways that it helps me tap in. So that's being kept. And the last one I have to show, which I just didn't know where to put this deck. These are my Sawyer's Path tarot tiles. I love these so much. I also love this special lined bag that Peggy made me for it. You guys, I love these. I love them. So this was before, I actually have, I think my set is number 4 or number 5. I'd have to look. It was one of the first sets that Jamie did of these, and I fell in love. I did a full walkthrough on my channel. They have the artwork on the front. These are on wood that was all burnt and burnt in the symbols of the astrology symbols on the back. You can now get these. She does them on a made-to-order basis, and she's done other ones since. So you can get the Spirit Keepers Tarot in this format. You can get now, I believe, or soon, the Crystal Unicorn Tarot by Pamela Chen in this format because she's been collaborating with other deck creators to be able to make these available. But I love them. And oops, and I actually don't have the card version of this deck because I don't want anything competing with the tiles for my attention. But these are so great for doing big spreads with. I actually have a little mini tarot cloth that Peggy made me that I keep in the bag with these because it's astounding. This is probably only about, this is smaller than 12 inches side to side. It's probably 8 to 10 inches. But you can fit, you can do a full Celtic cross on here, no problem. On this little bitty spread cloth. It's the cutest little thing. Anyways, I love these. I love these. They are really, really special, unique in my collection, and they're one of my most treasured possessions. I absolutely love them. I think the astrology on here is really, really helpful. And yeah, I love these. These are definitely not going anywhere. My camera decided to cut me off because I took too long. So anyways, these aren't going anywhere. I love, love, love my tarot tiles, and yeah. I don't know that they qualify as fantasy or otherworldly, but I love, love, love them. And they're not leaving. Ever, ever, ever. Okay, so let's take a look at the things that I put aside in my to consider rehoming pile. And let me have another look. So I'm not getting rid of my Lucky Potion Oracle. Let's put that over there. Okay, so let's start here. The Field Guide to Garden Dragons. Yeah, this is gonna go. I'll check with Peggy first, and I'm not letting this beautiful embroidered bag go though. I'm sorry. But I'll check with Peggy first, see if she wants this, and if she doesn't, then I will put it in my, eventually put it in my trade, to be traded pile. Next up, the Gilded Tarot. I think I can also let this one go. I just have not been drawn to it. There's so much depth here, you guys. There's so much work here with the Kabbalah, so many layers, and I just don't think I have the interest in really studying it and getting to know it in that way. It does work great at face value. Like, you don't need to study it to get great reads from it. It does read great. I think it's just that this artwork doesn't excite me the way that so many of my other decks do, so it's always kind of playing second fiddle to some of my other favorites. So this one I am gonna let go. Oh, I'm doing pretty good at the decluttering, guys. Okay, Healing Light Tarot. Oh, this one is really unique. Part of me wants to hold on to this until I find another sort of silhouette-y deck that I like. But again, I just haven't felt excited about working with this one in a while. Look at that Hermit, though. It is really beautiful, and it does, let's see. Why do I have to shuffle to make a decision? I don't know, but I do. Yeah, it's a really nice cardstock. Shuffles beautifully. But I've also not felt like any kind of desire to edge it or to like bond with it anymore. So as cool as this is, and I do think it's very, what do you call it, underrated. I think it's a very underrated deck. I never see people talking about it. It's really good. But despite that, I think I just have other decks I enjoy more, and yeah, I have enough of a collection that I don't think I need to hold on to things like this, that I'm just not vibing with as much anymore. So I'm going to also put this in my to be rehomed pile. Whew, doing pretty good here, guys. Okay, I'm pretty sure this one I can let go. The Magical Times Empowerment cards. Yeah, I can let this one go. I don't need these. And I have another Jody Bergsma deck that I really adore, and these are pretty, but I don't think I need them. In some ways, it's kind of easier, I feel like, for me to rehome Oracle decks, depending on the kind, because I've just gotten increasingly picky about my Oracle decks. So that's gonna go. And that leaves us with this little beauty, the Crystal Visions Tarot. I don't think I'm ready. You know, this is so 90s. This is so 90s fantasy art, and I really like it. I think this is a deck that I would someday look back and think, why didn't I keep that? It was so beautiful. Let's give her a shuffle. I don't know why that helps. It's like almost like I'm focusing on it. Oh, so nice. What happened here? We got one that flipped. Oh, the Unknown card flipped. Okay, let's do this. Let's do a should I stay or should I go? We'll do 2 cards in the to keep, kind of like a pro-con list. Okay, 2 cards. Do I keep you? What happens if I keep you? Oh, and 2 cards in the go pile. So in the keep, we have Queen of Pentacles and 8 of Cups. Oh, this is such a beautiful representation of the 8 of Cups. I kind of read this as like, I definitely don't need to keep it. Queen of Pentacles is somebody who kind of keeps an eye on her things. Like, she's more into her tangible goods. And the 8 of Cups is like, yeah, it served its purpose. You could potentially let it go. That's in the pro column. But in the con column, I have the 9 of Swords, which is like the worry and anxiety and perhaps overthinking. And the Chariot, which is about quick movement. And I feel like this is warning me that if I'm too hasty in getting rid of this, that I'm going to have regrets. I think I'm going to wait a bit on this. I just feel too undecided, and I can always change my mind later if I keep it, but once I've rehomed it, if it goes out of print or something, then I can't change my mind. So I'm going to keep this one for now. But I think I did pretty good if you think about it. So I had 21 decks in this category, and I am going to be rehoming 4 of them. So I think that's pretty good. I'm going to put these in my pile, and just, I know I've mentioned this in other videos, but in case this is the first one you're catching, the way I rehome things is I typically set them aside. I don't go too quick into rehoming them. Mind you, by the time this video airs, I may have already had enough time to sit with these. I don't know. But I like to sit for a little bit and make sure I'm not making a hasty decision and that I feel good about it before I actually add them to a trade list or look for a new home for them. So these ones are going to go in my consideration for rehoming pile, and we'll see what I do from there. But that's the plan. When it is time to rehome them, I'll probably either have a video about decks that are leaving my collection, or I will put them in the Supportive Tarot Facebook group on our Tarot Trade Tuesday post, or both. We will see. But that is it for this. There went one of them. It didn't go very far. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with me for my fantasy and otherworldly decks. I will see you guys in the next installment. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do all those good things. And if you would like to book a tarot reading with me, you can do that over at supportivetarot.com. Thanks, guys. Bye.